Right now, sitting in a committee room in Washington is a single piece of paper that touches more of your Social Security check than any bill introduced in the last 50 years. It is not a rumor. It is not a campaign promise. It has a bill number, House Resolution 9519, and inside it are 12 separate changes to how much you receive, when you receive it, and what the government is allowed to take back from you. Some of you would see your monthly check go up for the rest of your life. Some of you would qualify for a benefit you have never once heard of. Some of you would be protected from something that has already cost other families thousands of dollars. And one provision in here could hand certain retirees an extra $20,000 a year. I am not exaggerating the number. I will show you exactly where it comes from. Here is what I need you to understand before we go any further. This bill has not passed. It has 0 co-sponsors right now, and bills with this name have been introduced before and gone nowhere. So I am not here to tell you a check is coming. I am here to tell you what is actually written on the page, while the page still has a chance to matter, and while your voice can still do something about it. Because here's the part almost nobody explains correctly. Bills like this do not fail because the ideas are bad. They fail because most of the 68 million people they would affect never even hear the bill exists until it is already dead. Today, that changes. My name is Kevin. I read this bill twice, front to back, so you would not have to. Let's go through every single provision, in plain English, starting with the one that touches every check in America. Provision 1. The formula change. When Social Security calculates your benefit, it takes your lifetime earnings and breaks them into chunks. The lowest chunk, the portion that represents your most basic years of work, gets multiplied by what is called a replacement rate. Right now, that rate is 90%. This bill raises it to 93%. 3 points sounds small, but it applies to every single person currently collecting a check. And it hits hardest for the people who worked decades at modest pay, because that lowest chunk of the formula is the only chunk this provision touches. The people who need the increase most get the largest share of it. Provision 2, and this is the one with the $20,000 number. A new minimum benefit for people who worked their whole lives but never earned very much. Right now, Social Security's formula can be brutal. Low wages in, low benefit out. So no matter how many years you showed up. Now, this bill creates a floor. Now's work more than 10 years in lower wage jobs, and your benefit cannot fall below a set percentage of the federal poverty level. Now, the longer you worked, the higher that floor climbs. Now's 11 years get you to 62.5%. Now's 26 years get you to 100%. Now's 30 years or more, now's get you to 125%. Now's right now, the federal poverty level is about $1,330 a month for one person. Now's 125% of that. Now's is around $1,663 a month. Now's over a year, that is close to $20,000. Now's let me tell you about Wilma. Wilma is 71. Now's 41 years cleaning offices and homes in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now's first for a commercial cleaning company, then on her own once her knees let her set her own hours. Toughly cash and modest checks her whole working life. Toughly Wilma's Social Security check today is $910 a month. Toughly she has worked longer than most surgeons have been alive. Toughly, and under the current formula, her decades of labor come out to $910. Toughly, under this bill's minimum benefit provision, with over 30 years on the job, Wilma's floor would sit at roughly $1,660. Toughly, that is not a bonus. Tough, that is not a loophole. Tough, that is what this bill says 41 years of work is worth, if it becomes law. Toughly Provision 3. Tough, and this one is personal for a lot of you. Tough caregiver credits. Tough, here is the problem this fixes. Tough, your Social Security benefit is built from your earnings record. Tough, every year you worked and paid in, that year counts. Tough, but the years you spent home, caring for a child, a parent with dementia, a disabled spouse, those years show up as zeros. Blank, benefit reducing zeros. The formula does not ask why you were not earning, it just sees the gap. This bill creates caregiver credits. If you provided at least 960 hours of unpaid care in a year, roughly 20 hours a week, for a child under 12, a dependent relative, or a spouse, That year could be credited as if you earned half the national average wage, not a zero anymore, a real year on your record. Up to 5 years, and the system picks the 5 that raise your monthly check the most. Odessa took 8 years out of the workforce in Macon, Georgia, to care for her mother through a long decline, and then her husband through a stroke. 8 blank years on her earnings record. Under this provision, 5 of those years could be converted into real, credited income on the exact record her benefit is calculated from. Odessa did not take those years off to avoid working. She took them because someone she loved needed her more than any employer did. This is the first time federal law has ever offered to recognize that. Now, I have already given you 3 provisions in about 6 minutes, and there are 9 more waiting. Formula percentages, poverty level math, hour thresholds, documentation requirements. Nobody retains all of that from a video. I would not either. That is exactly why every provision in today's video and every protection from every video on this channel lives in one place, the quiet rules. Not a book you read on the couch, the drawer version of everything I explain here. Plain English, large print, the forms, the numbers, the exact sentences to say on a call, written down so you are not scrubbing back through a video with a pencil in your hand trying to remember a percentage. If this bill moves forward even partway, the families who benefit fastest will be the ones who already have their paperwork organized before the rules change underneath them. Get your copy. The link is in the description below, or scan the QR code on your screen right now, and it is also in the pinned comment. 7-day guarantee, always. If it does not give you something you did not have before, you pay nothing. Now, back to the bill, because the next 2 provisions are about the people this system has quietly let fall through the cracks. Provision 4, disability reform, and there are 2 parts to this one. Part 1, the 5-month waiting period disappears. Right now, even after you are approved for disability benefits, after the paperwork, the denials, the appeals, you wait 5 more full months before your first check arrives. 5 months with no income. During the exact period you cannot work. This bill eliminates that wait entirely. Your benefit would begin the very first month you are entitled to it. Part 2. The return to work cliff gets replaced with a slope. Right now, if you are on disability and you earn too much, your entire benefit can stop, all at once. All or nothing. That fear keeps people from ever trying to work again, even when they are able to. This bill creates a gradual offset. For every $2 you earn above the limit, your benefit only drops by $1. A slope instead of a cliff. Curtis is 58, a former warehouse supervisor in Toledo, Ohio, on disability since a back injury 3 years ago. Curtis wants to work part-time. He has turned down 2 job offers because he was terrified of losing his entire check the moment his part-time paycheck crossed an invisible line. Under the current all-or-nothing rule, that fear is rational. Under this bill's gradual offset, Curtis could earn extra income and still keep the majority of his benefit while he tests whether his body can handle more hours. For people like Curtis, this provision is not about money. It is about being allowed to try again without betting his entire safety net on the outcome. Provision 5. Extending the child's benefit for students. Right now, if a parent is retired, disabled, or has passed away, a child collecting benefits on that record loses them at 18 or 19. If that 18-year-old is in community college or a trade program, this bill extends eligibility all the way to age 26, as long as they are enrolled at least half-time. Provision 6. Expanding who counts as a caregiver relative. Right now, only grandparents and step-grandparents can access children's benefits as kinship caregivers. That leaves out aunts, uncles, cousins, and more distant relatives who legally took custody of a child a parent could not raise. This bill expands that definition all the way to fifth-degree relatives and adds a path for court-ordered custody arrangements. It will not make headlines, but for the aunties and cousins holding a family together right now, it is real. Provision 7. The hold-harmless fix. Here is a trap most people do not see coming until it happens to them. Every time your Social Security check goes up, from a COLA, from a new law, from anything, that increase can push your income just over the line for programs like Medicaid or CHIP. Bigger check in one hand, lost healthcare coverage in the other. This bill says any increase that comes from this legislation will not count as income for Medicaid or CHIP eligibility purposes. One honest gap: SNAP food assistance is not included in that protection. That is a real omission, and it is worth knowing about before you assume every benefit is covered. Now, the part almost nobody covering this bill explains. How is any of this paid for? Because a bill that only spends money is a bill that goes nowhere fast. Right now, Social Security payroll taxes only apply to the first $184,500 a person earns. After that, high earners stop paying into the system for the rest of the year, sometimes before February. A minimum wage worker pays in on every single dollar they earn. A high earner can stop paying in a matter of weeks. This bill removes that cap entirely after 2026. On top of that, it adds a new tax on net investment income, dividends, interest, capital gains for individuals earning over $400,000 a year. And it merges the retirement fund and the disability fund into one unified trust fund, which simplifies decades of separate accounting into a single, clearer picture. Together, these three changes are the part of the bill actually designed to keep the system solvent instead of just spending its way toward the next crisis. Provision 8, and this is the one about the agency itself, not your check. Whether the people answering the phone actually have the staff to help you. This bill would require Social Security to maintain at least as many employees as it had on a fixed date and would block field office closures without 120 days of public notice and public hearings first. Provision 9, data protection. It would bar unauthorized political staff from accessing your Social Security records and give you the right to sue for at least $5,000 per violation if your data is misused. That includes being wrongly marked as deceased in the system, a nightmare that can freeze your benefits and wreck your credit for months through absolutely no fault of your own. Provision 10, and this is the one I hear about constantly in the comments, overpayment recovery. Right now, if Social Security overpays you, even because of their own mistake, they can claw it back at 50% of your monthly check, sometimes 100%. On a fixed income, that is devastating. This bill caps the recovery rate at 10%, unless you specifically agree to a higher amount yourself. 12 provisions, every one of them real, every one of them sitting in the actual bill text right now. Now let's talk honestly about what happens next, because I promised you I would not oversell this. Bills with the name Social Security 2100 Act have been introduced in Congress before, more than once, and they have not become law. This version has 0 co-sponsors as of the week I recorded this. I am not telling you that to discourage you. I am telling you because the honest version of this story is more useful to you than the exciting one. Here is why bills like this actually die. Not because the ideas are unpopular. Survey after survey shows most Americans want a general benefit increase and want the inflation formula to better reflect what retirees actually spend money on. They die because most of the people they would help never say a single word to anyone in Washington about them. Silence is the easiest vote a bill can lose. So here is what actually moves a bill like this. Not outrage. Not a comment section. Let's a phone call, an email, or a letter to your own representative with your own story attached to it. Let's not a form letter. Let's a sentence like, I am 73. I worked 31 years, and this provision would change what I live on every month. Please co-sponsor House Resolution 9519. Let's that sentence, from a real constituent, carries more weight in a congressional office than almost anything else that arrives there. Now, before the checklist, let's talk about timing. Because even provisions written to help you do nothing automatically. If this bill advances, several of these provisions will require you to apply. The caregiver credits need documentation of your care hours. The minimum benefit needs your work history confirmed. The kinship caregiver expansion needs custody paperwork on file. None of that assembles itself the week a bill passes. It assembles itself now, in a drawer, while you have time to gather it calmly, instead of scrambling once a deadline appears. That is the same principle behind every video on this channel. The paperwork that protects you only works if it exists before the day you need it. The quiet rules already holds the account protections, the incapacity shields, the claim checklists from every video I have made. And as provisions like these move through Congress, that is exactly where the documentation checklist for this bill will live too. Written in plain English, organized by provision, ready before you need it, not after. The link is in the description below. Scan the QR code on your screen right now, or grab it from the pinned comment. 7 days, full refund if it is not worth its place in your drawer. Now, your action checklist. Step 1. Find your representative. Go to congress.gov, house.gov, or your representative's own website and enter your address. Step 2. Call or email their office. Say you support House Resolution 9519, the Social Security 2100 Act, and ask them specifically to co-sponsor or vote for it. Step 3. Attach your own story. One sentence about your own work history or the provision that would matter most to you is worth more than any form letter. Step 4. If you are within 10 years of a caregiving gap or a low-wage work history, start gathering the documentation now. Care hours, work records, custody paperwork. Do not wait for a bill to pass before you can prove your case. Step 5. Share this video with the person you know who worked decades for modest pay or spent years caring for someone instead of earning. They are exactly who provisions 2 and 3 were written for. And if you want me to go deeper on any single provision, the minimum benefit, the caregiver credits, the disability reforms, tell me in the comments, and I will build the dedicated walkthrough. If this video showed you a provision worth watching, subscribe before you go. This channel tracks the rules that decide what happens to your money, whether they are already law or still sitting on a desk in Washington, waiting for enough people to say they matter. One last thing. 12 provisions, 0 co-sponsors, 1 bill number. Nothing in this video is guaranteed to become your reality, but every provision in it started as an idea somebody wrote down, because enough people said the current system was not enough. The system will not knock on its own door for you. It never has. The only difference between this bill dying quietly in committee and this bill changing how 41 years of Wilma's work get valued is whether people who needed to hear about it ever did. You just did. I am Kevin. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to check the quiet rules at kevinexplains.shop.